Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, I'm going to be showcasing some more Shadow Gyarados gameplay. I've seen so many Kingdras so far in the Go Battle League and the Summer Cup, so I decided Gyarados is probably still the play that I want to use as a decent counter to it without being super RPS. I changed up the team a little bit from last time. Instead of using a Shadow Quagsire, I'm using a Vigoroth, mainly for that Kingdra matchup. It is so common right now, so I want to have a little bit more play into it once my Gyarados goes down. Let's take a look at the battles. All right, getting into the first game of the night here, we have our Gyarados into a Skeledirge. This is a very good matchup. We need to make sure to keep switch advantage if we can, because we don't really want to be down energy with our own Skeledirge into that matchup. Our opponent safe swaps a Cradily. We have our Vigoroth, which, you might expect this matchup to be very strong for Vigoroth, but it actually ends up losing the Zero Shield matchup. Just because Cradily is pretty bulky, we're forced to throw Rock Slides, and because this Pokemon is pretty spammy. Rock Slide comes through, and we know that if they get this next move off, we'll probably get knocked out, so shielding this and farming down seems to be a pretty good play. I can start Rock Sliding that Skeledirge when it comes back in, but being down shields is a little bit scary because Gyarados is a very squishy Pokemon, and I don't really like going down shields when I'm using it. First Rock Slide's going to be coming through here. I should be able to get to 2, and the first one actually gets shielded up by Stark. And they end up swapping to Ferrothorn, and we have our Skeledirge. This is just a bit of an RPS match against our opponent here. I feel kind of bad for him. GG's to Stark. Very, very RPS team against him, unfortunately, but he's a great battler. Okay, Shadow Gyarados into the Talonflame. This is another very good matchup, another Fire-type lead, and they safe swap the Lickitung. I don't know how you can justify safe swapping a Lickitung here. Like, using a Lickitung at all in the Summer Cup meta is so crazy, because it's basically a Vigoroth Cup. Vigoroth is the best counter to Lickitung basically in the entire game, so being able to lock it in here is so nice. And since there's that Talonflame lead, if I have energy coming out of this matchup, I'm going to be able to start taking shields from them and really making their life really uncomfortable. I can survive this next move. They have no fast move pressure into me because they're using Lick. I'm using counter, so I have a ton of fast move pressure. They have none. And what comes in here, are they going to absorb on their third, or are we going to see the Talonflame come back in? It actually is the Talonflame. We can get the Rock Slide off. We have another one almost loaded right now. So we're going to be able to get both shields if they try to stay in. They swap out to a Superior, yet again a Grass type for our Skeledirge to meet. We get the alignment that we need, and we take the game. Our next opponent here is going to be rocking the Kingdra lead. Another pretty good lead here for Gyarados, but this is a non-Shadow Kingdra, which means they can actually get to a move if I don't throw energy here in the Zero Shield matchup. I'm kind of fine with that, though. I like to shield this and farm down. Gyarados' energy in the back should be pretty useful, at least against most things, right? There might be a Charge Bug, but if there is, I'm going to swap to my Vigoroth to make sure that I don't get sniped down here, and there actually is. So I'm going to save my energy on my Gyarados, and hopefully be able to use my Skeledirge against this Charge Bug later into the match. I also just want to guarantee that I can get some shields or a lot of damage into this, so I'm going to go for the Rock Slide. Rock Slide is not going to one-shot them, but if they no-shield this, then they're going to be really low, and they're only going to have one Pokemon left. They know that, so they end up shielding, and now I'm just going to let my Vigoroth go, because I've kind of desynced the switch clock enough to where I can lock in my Skeledirge here, and I still have my Gyarados with a lot of energy left over, in case it's like a Mud Boy or some sort of ground type in the back. I'm going to wait down my switch clock to make sure I can swap as soon as I can, and they are staying in for a second. I don't really know why. They do come in with Diggersby, which is running Mudshot. They have no fast move pressure against my Gyarados, but they have a lot of energy left over on their Charge Bug. They're charging up a lot of energy here as well, but luckily my Gyarados is basically at 2 Aqua Tails. I can throw the first one here, it'll likely get the shield, and then my second Aqua Tail will be coming through in just a second. They're going to throw the Fire Punch first. At least I'm assuming Fire Punch is going to be what's coming through. Some have been running Hyper Beam, but Fire Punch seems like the most common moveset here. I'm going to farm up a little bit of extra energy because I know they're not at the Fire Punch yet. So we'll throw the Aqua Tail here right before they get their move, and they can get the Fire Punch on 1 HP, unfortunately, which isn't honestly that big of a deal, because now our Skeledirge is going to be able to farm this down, get enough energy. Oh, rather, they undercharge. So, no, they get energy lead here on their Charge Bug. Honestly, a pretty smart undercharge by them, because that means that they get extra energy, and if they did have 2 moves here, and I didn't have a move, then they might have been able to win this game based on that farm down that they got. So well played by our opponent there, and I'm very happy I was able to keep that energy on Gyarados for the backline. Alright, getting into the next game here, we're going to have our Shadow Gyarados into a Mantine. We don't really have a hard answer to this thing on our entire team here. We have our Vigoroth that has no fast move pressure into it, but it does have Rock Slide. We have Gyarados, which has a lot of fast move pressure, but it just gets outpaced, and honestly, Aerial Ace will do a lot of damage. Yeah, you can see that basically looks super effective here against our Shadow Gyarados. A little bit unfortunate, but we get our Crunch off. Are they going to shield it? They actually let it go. And since they do that, I'm fine just like coming in with Vigoroth, trying to get this thing chipped down. But they actually just come in with Whiscash. They save up energy on Mantine, and then they come in with Whiscash to absorb this energy. It's a Shadow Whiscash too. So these counters and these body slams are really going to start adding up here. They shield the first move. That makes me think maybe they're going to go for the Scald, but then I also think if they're going to play out this matchup, they're probably going to go for double Mud Bomb so they can get 2 moves before I can get my next Body Slam. If this is a Scald, it's really good for me because I can get my next Body Slam before they get their next move. But no, they go for the Mud Bomb. Very smart play. Now they can get to 2 moves before I get to my next Body Slam. I'm going to shield this up, though, because I know that if I build up to 5 more, I can have back-to-back Body Slam. I can have a move coming out of this matchup, and I'll be able to throw right when they get to their next Mud Bomb here. Are they going to shield it up? They choose not to, and the Mantine comes right back in. I have the Body Slam loaded. If they choose to no-shield this, that's a lot of energy on Mantine that's just kind of going to go down. They shield it. They know that they have a lot of energy here. They kind of want to keep it. And I know right now my Gyarados might still be good, and I don't want to take a Water Pulse on my Skeleturge, so I'm going to try to make a catch here. I know that they're 2 off here from their move, or 1 off rather, and they throw the Aerial Ace, and I know that this will not be a Water Pulse. They'll not be able to get to another move here in the entire game, and it's a Diggersby. It's a great thing. I saved my Gyarados. If I didn't have that thing still around, I don't really know how I'd take this thing out. I have my Skeleturge, which can have a lot of neutral pressure into it with Incinerates and Disarming Voice, but I mean, this thing's just going to be able to wall my energy. It has super effective ground-type damage into me, and it would be very scary if I didn't have this Gyarados left over. I get my Aqua Tail off. We know that the Mantine's dry, so I can just Dragon Breath that down, and then we should be able to take the game just with fast move pressure, which we can, and Shadow Gyarados once again closing out the match. Getting into our next game here, we're going to have Shadow Gyarados lead into a Skeleturge, and a lot of Fire-type leads today. We're going to see if they're going to stay, and they don't. It's actually a Pidgeot, though. Pidgeot's a bit uncomfortable for my whole team. I don't have a Flying-type resist, and Pidgeot is well known for using Feather Dance. Feather Dance can debuff your attack by 2 stages. I shouldn't say can, it always does. It doesn't do much damage, but it does always lower your opponent's attack by 2 stages here. I'm kind of fine shielding this and trying to go for a fast move farm down. If I can get this, I'm in a really good spot here. I know since there's that Skeleturge from the lead that I want to save my Gyarados if I can. We want to see what comes in. It's actually, I thought that was a Trevenant. This is a Decidueye. So I safe swap my Vigoroth. Maybe not a great play because Trevenant is a little bit better here for Vigoroth than Decidueye. But, you know, at least we still have Rock Slide pressure, and they do end up shielding it. Since this is running Leafage, I know that my Skeleturge will be able to easily absorb any sort of the charge move pressure that they're going to have, and they have no fast move pressure here. It might be running Brave Bird, but, you know, we'd still survive that with our Skeleturge, and we have a ton of energy left over with our Gyarados. We can just start farming up energy here. No shield this, save our shield for our Gyarados, and see how they want to play it out. It is a Brave Bird, so they're not running Spirit Shackle, they're running Brave Bird Frenzy Plant. I want to get the final shield here, because I know I have energy on my Gyarados that I'm going to be able to throw into this Skeleturge here in just a second. We're at 4, so I know that I can do 5 Dragon Breaths before throwing my move to throw on CMP, and I also know that Crunch does do more raw damage. I'm not quite sure how much damage Aqua Tail would do, but I want to throw the Crunch to make sure that I can knock this thing out guaranteed, and just to, you know, be safe here. Crunch is going to land, and then they're going to bring back in their Decidueye. They're going to try to fast move farm us down, but we still get to the Aqua Tail here, and because Shadow Gyarados is so offensive, this is going to be more than enough to knock it out. Shadow Gyarados once again sweeping up the endgame. Alright, our next opponent here is going to be leading the Charjabug. First, really bad lead here of the Shadow Gyarados showcase today. We're going to safe swap our Vigoroth, and we're going to try to get that Body Slam off as quick as possible. This isn't a great situation, because obviously Vigoroth doesn't have a lot of fast move pressure here, but just being able to chip this thing down is going to be very useful here. Now, they might be kind of in Aqua Tail range. If I can land a Incinerator too, they might be in Dragon Breath down range, and they actually come in with a Girafarig. Girafarig's not necessarily a great Pokemon to swap into a Vigoroth, just because of how squishy it is here. They have to shield a move, and I do get basically half their health just with fast move pressure. I know my Gyarados is going to be pretty useless this game, because we've already seen that there's going to be that Charjabug, right? So do I really want to invest resources into a Pokemon like this? And if they're going to throw energy when my Pokemon's this slow, I'll just let it go, right? I can farm this down with Skeleturge. I can hope there's another normal type in the back, you know, maybe a Vigoroth, maybe it's an Oranguru, like double Psychic Infusion users. It's possible. We'll see what comes in. They actually end up coming in eventually with the Charjabug. Charjabug is probably just coming in to drain my energy. If there's like an Oranguru in the back, they probably like to drain my energy here so that I'm not going to be able to spam out charge moves. But it's actually the Obstagoon. This is a Ghost-type Pokemon here that's actually good into this specific Dark-type. Obstagoon normally was a pretty strong Ghost-type answer back in the day, but since I have both Fire-type Fast Move Pressure and Fairy-type Charge Move Pressure, along with a Shield advantage, I can now just farm this down after landing that Disarming Voice. and they know that they're just going to go for fast moves here. They know that I can farm them down, and we take the game with our Skeleturge closing out the endgame. Next up, our Shadow Gyarados into a Skeleturge lead. We have to see what our opponent's going to do. They swap into a Greedent here. A little bit of a slow swap by me. It's whenever you see that normal type icon in the top corner, it's like, is that a Lickitung? Is it a Vigoroth? Is it a Greedent? It's always hard to tell, and so I was a little bit slow here on the swap, but we bring in our Vigoroth because it is a very hard answer here to this little squirrel. Body Slam plus counter is going to do a lot of damage, but because of how slow I was, I'm a little worried that maybe I wouldn't be able to get to 2 Body Slams. It looks like, though, I will be able to get to my next one here, right on CMP with the Greedent. So if they shield this, I'm fine with just letting this go and taking the shield advantage, but if they no shield, then I'll take switch advantage. Hopefully I'll be able to get to a rock slide against this Skeleturge. It looks like it's going to be down to the damage registration error. Do I get it? I do not. So now this Skeleturge is loaded. They have a full Shadow Ball of energy, and my Gyarados really doesn't want to see any part of that. I'm going to shield it because I kind of have to. I don't want to get one shot here, because then my Skeleturge in the back is going to be really awkward. And they come in with a Wigglytuff. I haven't seen too many Wigglytuffs in this meta, but Wigglytuff is something that my Skeleturge loves to see here. But it's still a little uncomfortable, because Wigglytuff, even though I do resist all of their moves here, it can do some annoying amount of damage, you know? You're seeing that we're already basically below half health. They've debuffed me. And now, I don't think I'm going to be able to have a Disarming Voice plus a Shadow Ball loaded. Looks like I only have the double Disarming Voice. I'm going to throw the Voice first, so I can try to throw 2 moves here. You know, just see if somehow I can get to the Shadow Ball. But I'm pretty sure this Incinerate damage is going to make it so I can't get to the next Shadow Ball, so I can only throw the Disarming Voice. Does our opponent know this? They do. And so this is going to be erased. Can I get to the 2 Aqua Tails before my opponent can get to a Shadow Ball plus a Disarming Voice? They're almost always going to bait me here, but I know that they still need 1 more Incinerate if they want to get to their next Shadow Ball. So I'm in a pretty safe spot to shield that, build up to 2 moves, and I do have the back-to-back Aqua Tail loaded. I can throw the Aqua Tail on CMP and take the game. Shadow Gyarados, once again, just barely closing out the endgame. Even these Fire-type leads can be a little bit tricky if we let our opponent have an advantage like we did in this game. Next matchup here is going to be our Shadow Gyarados into a Charger Bug. Another very bad lead here. I'm going to swap to my Vigoroth once again, try to get a Body Slam off first, get this thing chipped down. And, you know, the best case scenario is they stay in this matchup. We can kind of just soft lose this with our Vigoroth. Worst case scenario, they chip us, then they come in with like Vigoroth, they farm us all the way down. They're staying in for a second. They did an extra Volt Switch, so they're at 1 past the X Scissor right now. Are they going to stay in past this, or are they just going to swap out? They actually do end up swapping out, and we can get to our Body Slam against this Quagsire. Quagsire is a little bit uncomfortable to see here just because of how spammy it is, and it does have Stone Edge coverage, which would do a lot of damage to both my Gyarados or my Skeleturge. I kind of have to let this go. I'm not going to be outpacing this thing. I'm going to have to try to farm this down, and hopefully maybe get to a move. They threw a Mud Bomb, which is really interesting. It means that they're not actually going to get to the Stone Edge before I get to this Aqua Tail. So instead of going for the farm down, I'm just kind of content taking this thing out without needing to shield my Gyarados. And now that the switch clocks are so misaligned, I can come with my Skeleturge and try to farm down this Charger Bug, or at least get as much fast move pressure onto it as I can. Are they able to swap out yet? It doesn't look like it. It looks like it the full Incinerate down, and we don't see the third. They top left. I guess the Gyarados plus Skeleturge loaded there was a little bit too much for our opponent to deal with, and we were able to take that game. Next matchup here, a very strong lead. Shadow Gyarados into Diggersby. Our opponent's actually staying in for a second too, so I'm thinking, is it going to be Hyper Beam or something? But they threw after 6. So I know this is at most a Scorching Sands. It can't be a Hyper Beam. It could be a Fire Punch, but no, it's a Scorching Sands. And how do they play this out? They actually come in with a Shadow Poliwrath. So a very interesting team by our opponent so far. Diggersby lead with Shadow Poliwrath in the back. I don't really know what the third's going to be at this point, and I am pretty happy to see this Poliwrath here, just because I don't have a great answer for it in the back, especially when I'm down energy. Skeleturge doesn't really want to take a Scald, and our opponent just straight up sacks the Poliwrath. I don't know how to feel about this. I'll just have to see what's in the back, what's the third Pokemon, and it's a Kingdra. It's a Shadow Kingdra, to be precise. And right now I'm kind of thinking, where does my Skeleturge have to go? There's a Diggersby as the third. I guess I just kind of have to bring this in here. I know I'll have to shield on Octazooka, and it's actually an Outrage, so I'm wondering if this is a single-moved Kingdra. Definitely could be. And they catch a move. Great catch by our opponent. They catch on Diggersby, but now that they did that, I know that I can come in with my Vigoroth, and I can farm this all the way down, have 3 Body Slams loaded for that Kingdra when it comes back in. They're never going to be able to knock me out. I'm pretty sure they're not running Hyper Beam since they only threw a Scorching Sands at my Gyarados in the lead. And we're just going to see how it plays out. Do they get any debuffs? It doesn't even matter if they do at this point, because we'll get the farm down. We're basically at 3 moves anyway, and our Skeleturge is 1 Incinerate off of getting the Disarming Voice of our own. So we're in such a good spot here, right? They basically need to have like 5 shields if they wanted any chance to win this game. Unfortunately for them, that is not a feature yet in Pokemon Go. Body Slam spam coming through. They shield the first. Are they going to shield the second? Do they think they have a win condition? I guess so. I guess they just want us to throw all of our Body Slams here. So we'll throw the third Body Slam, get the knockout, and take the game right now. Awesome. So Kingdra, an interesting pick. That's why I wanted Vigoroth, just because I didn't really have as much play when I had my Shadow Quagsire. And this is a fantastic lead. The Whiscash lead, you can't really get much better than this. Quagsire is much more awkward as a Mudboy because it has that Stone Edge coverage, but Whiscash, it has nowhere to go against a Gyarados. I can get the Chip and Dip here against this Vigoroth because I don't really have a hard answer for it, and I know that if I come in with my Skeleturge now, I can basically avoid being in a really bad matchup with that Whiscash by farming this down here, and then having energy to throw back into that cache when it comes in, because they're pretty obviously going to bring it in here, right? If they no-shield a Shadow Ball, they're going to take a ton of damage, and if they don't throw any energy anytime soon, I'm going to be able to get to another move and probably knock out this Whiscash. And they know that. They throw their Mud Bomb pretty much right when they get it here, so they don't even have that much energy, and their Whiscash is so low. There's some things in the back that could be a little bit awkward for Gyarados and Vigoroth to face, but we're in such a good spot with how low this Whiscash is that I'm not too concerned. It's actually a Mantine, which is one of those things in the back that is definitely a little bit hard to deal with. But we have energy still on our Gyarados. We can kind of just soft lose this matchup, try to strip shields here, and then close the game out with our Gyarados. Water Pulse does come through. I was trying to call the Aerial Ace bait, but they do go through for the big attack, which is a little bit awkward because now our Vigoroth is much lower. Now they're just going to start spamming Aerial Aces, and that is a little bit awkward here. But I'm going to call this. I know it could be a Water Pulse, but we're just going to call it. It could be an Aerial Ace as well, which it is, and I can get to the water or the Rock Slide before they get to their next move. We know that the Mantine here is pretty loaded, but we are loaded on our Gyarados as well. We have 2 shields to our name. We can get to the Crunch, and then we're going to be able to fast move farm down, or maybe just get to the Aqua Tail here against the Whiscash. We get to the Crunch here, they don't make a catch, so we guaranteed to knock out this Mantine here, and we'll see if this Whiscash can somehow get to 2 Scalds. They'd have to get to like a Mud Bomb bait plus a Scald to have any chance here, but we know the Whiscash is basically dry. They don't have energy. We can just get to the Aqua Tail and take the match. GG's to them. Whiscash is a very fun pick, but it's not exactly a great answer to these water flying types, right? So Shadow Gyarados has a much better matchup here into the Whiscash than it would into the Quagsire. And with that, we have a 5-0. We have a lot of fun games here with the Shadow Gyarados. Honestly, it's been putting in so much work for me in this meta. Kingdra, for some reason, was so common today, and just having that hard answer to it really helped out. We can see we get up to 26-20 here, pretty high up on the leaderboard, honestly, right now with the Shadow Gyarados. I'm surprised I haven't seen too many people use it yet, because it's just such a fun pick. It's so good, so flexible, and as long as you're not in the Charge Bug, it's a pretty good Pokemon. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. I stream my Pokemon Go PvP sets basically every day at twitch.tv/itsaxon, so if you want to see this kind of content live, make sure to check me out there. Thanks again, take care, and have a good one.